What's going on, guys? We're going to get into it. Illegal defense right back at you. Going to get into some week 6 NFL games. First one we're going to kick off is the Bills versus the Chiefs. Bills won this 24-20 against the Chiefs at home. They were the favorite, and it was a great game nonetheless. So, going to get right into it.
Yeah, and this is game of the year vibes, playoff matchup. That playoff game between the Bills and the Chiefs is one that I'm sure people will remember for a long time. This game, not as much as a shootout as that one, but still a great game nonetheless. And both teams really battling it out, showing what they can do. Some spectacular plays, both on offense and defense. And the Bills kind of get their revenge here. This is a matchup that, well, there's a good chance we see in the playoffs. We'll see how that goes. Certainly a good win for the Bills, though. They keep their play up. They're still, I think, regarded as the best team in the league. They were favored on the road at the Chiefs, which kind of tells you all you need to know with how good the Chiefs have been playing this season. And look, Josh Allen really he's kind of been doing it all. He's been doing it all, and then look on defense too. Their defense is spectacular as well. So just
creating a lot of turnovers.
Turnovers, getting to the quarterback, their corners and their secondary really doing a good job of holding guys and not letting them run wild on them. So just a really complete team. It's hard to be near the top of the offense and defensive rankings at the same time.
Right.
The Bills are doing that, and great win for them. The Chiefs, though, they were able to stick around in this game. They were never at any point counted out of this one.
Yeah.
And if a few things went their way, they could have easily came out with the win here.
I think what really dictated this games was the turnover battle, and this is kind of the narrative with both teams. You have to play nearly perfect football to knock off the Bills, or you have to play nearly perfect football to knock off the Chiefs. Your margin of error is very slim, and Patrick Mahomes threw 2 interceptions. So it's like you're putting the ball in the hands of Josh Allen. You're not going to get field goals and 3 and outs. They're gonna be able to put up points, or they're gonna be able to move the ball down the field, tire out that defense a little bit as time goes on. But the Chiefs, they like you said, they were in it the whole time, and
it wasn't until the turnovers. Right?
Yeah, it wasn't until the
turnover
right.
on the drive that could have been the bounce back drive to end the game, and he throws the pick there towards the beginning of that drive that really kind of
just
put the game away.
Yeah. So I mean, it's hopefully a matchup that we can see in the playoffs again. I would like to see them play again in the playoffs. Also, something to think of is this may determine home field advantage. If these two teams have similar records and they go into the playoffs with similar records, obviously one is going to get home field advantage based off of this,
which is huge now because only one team gets the bye.
Right.
So it's a huge difference maker.
Yeah.
Where if you're the Bills or the Chiefs, right, you really wanted this game. One, because this is kind of your main rival at this point, right? These are the two teams and kind of the two best quarterbacks in the AFC. I mean, there's some other teams and other good players, but these are kind of the two main teams that people expect to be there in the AFC.
Right.
And so to be able to get that bye is huge. I mean, look, there's always a debate of is it better to rest or is it better to play? But, to guarantee that you're in the next rounds, take some pressure off, be able to rest a little bit. Could turn out to be huge if, like you said, these guys end up with, similar records and that becomes the deciding factor in the one team in the AFC that gets that home field advantage.
It's kind of similar. It kind of reminds me of the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady kind of rival.
Yeah.
And again, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are nowhere near their accomplishments yet. but it gives off that kind of rivalry where it's
Hmm.
like that's where they were kind of pushing the narrative with Lamar and Patrick Mahomes, but Lamar hasn't really been able to get to that level or get to sustain that level of play due to just a lot of other reasons that we'll get into further on in the season. But yeah, I like this matchup because it's like it gives that Peyton esque kind of thing, or Tom Brady esque kind of thing. It's like the best of both worlds, and it's like in the beginning stages of it, we got to see Peyton and Tom Brady a lot because they were in the same division. At some point, the Colts were in the AFC East at some point, and then they ended up separating, and obviously they're in the AFC South now. But um, yeah, this is a matchup I hope to see in the playoffs, and I'm sure a lot of other people hope to see. But um, again, we were talking about the Ravens and Lamar, and we saw in on Sunday the Giants they knocked off the Ravens. Unfortunately, I'm a Ravens fan, as everybody knows. But yeah, the Giants come out on top, 24-20, and they played great football. They played disciplined, which is something that you need to play with these kinds of teams, with the Ravens and other big teams. But yeah, hats off to the Giants. They played great football. Um, they played behind and they won the game. So
Yeah, I mean, and look, um, we had a segment last week about New York football on the rise, and um,
two
you
big
know,
upsets again.
and both teams come away with big upsets. They keep it
Crazy.
rolling even more. When does it end? Who knows? But look, I'll say that the Giants look legit. I mean, now they go on to what 5-1 now with the win against the Ravens. Um, yeah, I mean, at this point, and I haven't. I should have looked at their remaining schedule before we hopped on here, but I'd be pretty shocked if they don't get enough wins to at least secure a wild
Have
card in that NFC.
yeah.
Starting off the season 5-1, they have guys that were injured in those games. They have guys injured now. They're still trying to figure out their receiving core. There's a lot of stuff going on. You have guys, not performing up to expectations in some cases,
But
and they're finding ways to win. And Daniel Jones has been doing, enough, right? He's kind of. It's hard to say. It's not like he's
he's not playing
improved
stellar.
immensely, right? But he's doing enough, and he's playing clean football, which is what the Giants need. And then Saquon's back to rookie year form, where the guy is just you know
Second in rushing
yeah,
so far.
he's second in rushing, and he's a problem. And um even more so is Coach Dable, because look, they come in and they get down in the red zone, they get by the goal line, and they have Saquon taking direct snaps, and this whole weird wildcat offense that's proven to be very effective. I mean, I've seen Saquon already with a few touchdowns in
From
the
it.
red zone by running that, and they do it on some fourth and shorts too. But yeah, I mean, they've been finding and scheming ways for them to win. They got their high draft pick and Kayvon Thibodeau back.
And he
Crucial
had a
crucial
great play.
sack, and to kind of ice the game for the Giants late with a sack fumble. And yeah, I mean, they've been playing both sides of the ball. It's not the most spectacular or anything like that,
Wins or wins.
but wins are wins, and
What I
they're getting
will
tough, hard wins.
Yeah, what I will say about Daniel Jones is, people kind of expect Dable's here. Now we get a Josh Allen, and it's like you're not going to get Josh Allen out of Daniel Jones. You may not get it just yet. You may get it further on. May not even get that. But I think the important thing with Daniel Jones is like he's built. You can see he's building confidence. You can see he's through his play. Um, he's able to command the offense. He's able to rally people. His team believes in him. When your team believes in a quarterback, why do you think Jalen Hurts is playing great? Because the Eagles actually believe in this guy. The same thing with the Josh Allens of the world. Like they believe in him. So I think it's a start. There's obviously some things that Daniel Jones has to work on, but it's not major. It's not last year where it was like the turnovers. They had to clean up on the turnovers. He was fumbling a lot. The ball security wasn't important. Or wasn't really coached up, and it seems like Dable is really coaching him up the way that he should be. And hopefully, I mean, at this point, I don't see why they would get rid of Dable and why they would get rid of any of the staff that they have. But at this point, it seems like they're getting their franchise back on track. Like it seems like the Giants are back on track, and that's something that we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, and look, a few things here. One, I checked out this their remaining schedule. We know next week they go to Jacksonville, right?
Right.
That's a very winnable game. From there, they go Seahawks, bye week, Texans, Lions, Cowboys, Commanders, Eagles, Commanders, Vikings. Wow.
That's a not for nothing.
Wow.
Not for nothing.
Very winnable games on that schedule.
Not for nothing. They went through the strength of their schedule early on and they proved. So it's like, I don't know. The only teams you really have to worry about is obviously the Cowboys and the Eagles, maybe the Commanders, because
Maybe the Commanders get one of those, split that.
And they don't. The Giants don't really play well against the Reds or the Commanders.
But yeah, what a schedule.
Yeah,
I mean, look, you don't want to count your wins early, and like we said, they haven't been like blowing teams out or anything to look like they're world beaters. But for a team,
you could win out.
yeah, I mean, look, you have the undefeated Eagles right now. You have the Cowboys who've been playing pretty good, but man, I mean, the schedule sets up well for the Giants to make some noise. And on one hand, coming into the season, if you're a Giants fan, you're probably looking like, all right, Daniel Jones is probably not the answer. Let's not win too many games. Maybe we could get a CJ Stroud or something like that. At this point, look, you're not drafting early in the first. I mean, you're 5-1.
Yeah, you're like a middle of the pack.
You go and try to. I mean, they're one of the record wise at this point. Towards the top of the league. So at this point, you win the games that you can. And look, like we talked about when we were talking in our college football segments, there's a lot of quarterbacks. So
there is a lot. So
you could keep
leeway.
Daniel Jones and maybe get a guy that more of your future if Daniel Jones doesn't keep up
out.
this play and pan out. Maybe you get a developmental guy in a stacked quarterback class like this that could maybe pan out if Daniel Jones doesn't. So yeah, certainly good times for the Giants and
The Ravens.
They show their potential, but they need to clean some things up.
The Ravens, yeah, that's exactly what it is. They play very it's weird because I mean it's not weird. They lost Wink and it seems like their defense has just completely gone out the window. But what the problem is with the Ravens is being able to consistently score in the second half. They put up points in the first half, which is great, but you have to be able to sustain that play and you have to be able to put up points. And it's like, yeah, people are saying like, oh, it's not Lamar's fault, or they need to get him a receiver and they need to get him this, but it's like, how much more do you need to get the guy? And there's sometimes, the Dolphins game is unacceptable. Lamar played lights out. The defense should have been able to back him. He gave them more than enough cushion, but it's like the defense just didn't show up. The Bills game, that was kind of on him. He shouldn't have thrown that end zone interception. Maybe that was the whole debacle with maybe John Harbaugh should have gone for it. Maybe he shouldn't have. Whatever the case may be. And then obviously this game where he had that horrible interception, and then you have a game-winning drive. If I'm a coach, I'm telling my quarterback ball security is what we need to focus on and hone in on. If the play isn't there, throw it away or just get rid of it or do whatever you have to do to just end the play. But I think overall the offense needs to play a little bit better. Overall, I think they need to cut down on their turnovers and just play a little bit more technologically sound, because it's just not. This isn't. I mean, the record speaks for itself. You're 3-3 for a reason. So,
yeah. Yeah. So moving on, we have the another NFC East two opponents here with the Cowboys and the Eagles. Eagles win this game 26-17 at home, keep their undefeated streak alive. Stay pretty much the hottest team in football right now. Jalen Hurts. We saw maybe not as much clean football with him, but they did enough to get the job done, and a complete team performance to get this win here. We saw Cooper Rush really struggle early, came on late to kind of make this more of a close game, but was too little, too late on that. And Eagles flying high right now. We saw the video going around of never thought I'd say this, but fly Eagles fly, and
with Jason Garrett.
But yeah, look, the Eagles have been playing great. I don't know. Look, there actually was a decent amount of people picking the Eagles to win this division. I don't know if they picked them to go 6-0. That's a little crazy. Yeah, I thought I wasn't thinking much of the Eagles this year. I thought maybe they had a chance to win the division, but I kind of saw the whole division probably being
a little bit weaker.
Yeah, it's similar to the years past. Now,
it's one of the best divisions in football. Yeah, it's one of the best.
Yeah, right, exactly. And yeah, great win for the Eagles. Divisional win at that, and they move on, stay undefeated, like we said, and for the Eagles, like you talked about, sometimes you just really need to believe in your quarterback. Jalen Hurts kind of really shutting people up this year. A lot of people said, he's not an NFL quarterback. People thinking he was kind of a fill-in for when they find the next guy. Yeah. And the way he's been playing this year,
you can't really.
Yeah, you can't really say much anymore. This is in a way, this is similar to that Lamar MVP year in a way where a lot of people were doubting him, and he's just kind of really putting the whole league on notice. And look, we just talked about the Ravens and how they don't have everything going great, and Lamar made some mistakes. But at this point, nobody's saying Lamar is not an NFL starting caliber quarterback. Right. And this is the kind of year for Jalen Hurts where he could put that whole narrative completely behind him. If he keeps up this kind of play.
Well, yeah, I think he definitely can, and obviously his season is proving that. But what I want to see more from the Eagles, and maybe it's not so much what the audience wants to see, and maybe it's more so what Coach Sirianni is doing, with running the football, and that's clearly their identity. They have a bunch of running backs. They even run with Jalen Hurts, and that's their meat and potatoes. Whereas, I would like to see AJ Brown get a little bit more involved, Devontae Smith get a little bit more involved. But they're working towards their strengths, and you don't want to kind of get away from what you're great at. That's part of why they're 6-0. But I think it was a great game. I think the Cowboys, just like you said last week, I think we're gonna see one of these quarterbacks kind of fizz out, and Cooper Rush kind of did that in the beginning of the game. And I think that the Cowboys obviously were missing that consistent quarterback play, and that's kind of where it was okay, maybe we do miss Dak a little bit, or okay, maybe this guy is just a really good backup, and maybe he can be a really great backup for us in the years coming forward. But yeah, I think I don't think anybody expected the Eagles to play this well. I think they expected, on paper, they were wow, this Eagles team is great, and I think maybe if we're talking about okay, we ask somebody oh yeah, what do you think the Eagles are going to be in week 6? Maybe, I think they'll be a 4-2 team, maybe a 5-1 team, but 6-0, I don't think anybody anticipated.
I mean, look, if you would have told me 10-win team total throughout the year, okay, right? Now that's 10 and 7,
10 and
right?
7, yeah.
But now they're on pace for more than that at this point, right? I don't think they're, it's very early. They're undefeated. So hard to see how it's really going to go, but you got to figure they should be able to lock up, 12 wins, unless they really crash here. So, definitely a step in the right direction. Like you said, Sirianni got them playing to their strengths. defense stepping up, playing well, offense being able to move the ball, run the ball well. We saw some passing in this game, still some nice plays. We saw in other games them really get the passes going, like the Vikings where Hurts is kind of really slinging it coming out.
Even the Lions game, like
Right.
right off the bat, AJ Brown was active.
And
like,
it'll probably be kind of a bounce back between those two, tails, if you will, where they're using their running game and they'll kind of lull you to sleep and then hit you over the top. And they'll have some games where they really come out slinging it. But for the most part, they're always going to go back to their identity, like you said, of running the ball. And they really did what they needed to do here to get the win.
Yeah, and it was good to see them get the win against the Cowboys. I don't think anybody wanted to see the Cowboys win except for obviously their fans. But I think what we could get into is their quarterback situation. We obviously saw Cooper Rush kind of slow down a little bit. Showed us that he was a backup quarterback, and maybe Dak can take a sigh of relief a little bit, knowing that okay, I can take my time and kind of come back when I'm healthy for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe this Cooper Rush situation is just like, okay, maybe he just had a hot moment. There's not much film out there on him. Defensive coordinators can't kind of game plan against him because there's not so much that you can game plan against. But again, I think it's an interesting situation though.
Yeah,
It's definitely an interesting situation because I don't think Cooper Rush is. Oh yeah, he's a backup quarterback. I think he showed a lot of potential in this 5-game stint.
Look, Cooper Rush, no matter what, if he did anything, he made himself some money because after this year, he's gonna get it. Somebody's gonna pay him, whether they're paying him to be a starter or they're paying him to be a backup. He's still gonna get some money. Where otherwise, the guy was literally sitting at home on his couch, after he was cut before. So he certainly made himself some money. We've seen other guys come in the past and they've been able to play well as backup quarterbacks. And we've seen that in different situations. And then, some of them have went on to either be fringe starters. Some have been able to just turn out to be just backups, and some have completely fallen off after that. Right. But either way, Cooper Rush has made himself some money. Like you said, it's not very clear if he's just a backup or not. If you're a team at the bottom of the league and
if you're like the Panthers,
you need to have somebody fill that role of starting quarterback for a year or so. Cooper Rush is certainly a guy that he's shown he could do it. He's played in Dallas, right? That's a huge media market. A lot of fans there. They have their expectations as well, and he's been able to.
I think he exceeded those expectations.
Yeah, he's been able to do what he needs to do and really help that team get wins. I mean, look, they have a great defense, but you can't diminish what Cooper Rush has done so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Cowboys have had their years where they've had their John Kitnas, and John Kitna wasn't able to do anything, and it's like, oh man, here we go again. But Cooper Rush was able to sustain good enough quarterback play to where they were able to win games, and he didn't make mistakes that put them in situations where they couldn't win games. But what's interesting too is like being a journeyman isn't bad.
No,
look at Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I was about to say Ryan.
Look
Fitzpatrick
at Brian Hoyer.
Yeah.
Alex Smith, right? Alex Smith. You have even Mike Glennon. Mike Glennon has. I think last year he was on the Giants. He hasn't won a game since like 2013 or something like that, which is crazy. And whoever his agent is, I mean, Cooper Rush should probably get in contact with him because he'll probably have a job for sure, like wherever.
Yeah,
but
he'll be a quarterback for another 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like there's that's a commendable thing to be a solid backup. Look, like Jacoby Brissett. You never know when there could be a situation where somebody tears the ACL, God forbid, or somebody has to go through shoulder surgery and they need somebody to fill in. And I think Cooper Rush showed that he could be that guy. And again, just like you said, he's got himself some money, and I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's horrible, but I think obviously now Dak could take
Yeah,
a
it
breath
shows that
and
there is levels to this, right?
yeah,
Dak is a quarterback where, um, he's been in MVP conversations before. He's able to really throw the ball, put up great numbers,
right.
really kind of show that
Pre-snap reads
yeah,
that
he
not a lot of
can
quarterbacks do.
he can run an explosive offense and play at one of the higher levels in the NFL. And last game by Cooper Rush, showed, like you said, not as much for him to worry about. I never really thought there was a huge quarterback controversy, but Cooper Rush is certainly making that harder and harder. That being said, I think it's very clear to see that the ceiling is much higher with Dak. Really, they got to focus on him being healthy. I mean, I don't know how many years in a row with him getting injured. And that's really been the main problem for the Cowboys. Maybe the Cowboys need to just give Cooper Rush a bunch of money so they know that
They have a solid
they have a
quarterback.
quarterback if Dak is going to keep, missing a good amount of games every year. But yeah, certainly, like I said,
It's a good
Dak
situation
is
to have.
yeah, Dak though is certainly the starter there, and really no worries in terms of will they want him back or will they keep Cooper Rush? No, Dak is gonna play. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and then on top of that, they paid him. So
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna get into our next topic. We have some teams that are obviously at the top tier and they're the cream of the crop, and we have some teams on the bottom, obviously, that we won't really get into too much this week. But we're gonna get into the top five most complete teams.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and so looking around the NFL here, there's certain teams that obviously there's teams that are good, there's teams that are bad, but when you talk about complete teams, it's kind of doing it in multiple phases, really all
in
phases,
totality,
right? Offense, defense, special teams, pass defense, run offense, pass offense, right? Who are the teams that have the most going for them in all aspects of that? Usually that turns out to be the top teams, and we see like top three teams right now. I don't think people could argue with this. It's really the Bills, Chiefs, and the Eagles, and those three teams kind of have them.
on
Most of
all
those things
cylinders.
clicking. They're able to beat you different ways. They know what they're good at. They know what you're not good at. They're gonna take away what you're good at. And yeah, all three of those teams firing all cylinders. We saw the spectacular game with the Bills and the Chiefs this past weekend, and we just finished talking about the Eagles and being that undefeated team after winning against the Cowboys to keep that streak going. After those three, right, to make a top five, it gets a little more dicey. Now you kind of going off, some recent history or potential or other things to kind of make
Go
these
into
teams
that.
fit that mold, right? And right off the bat, you have the Ravens, who we talked about, right? They've showed a lot of promise. They've been able to do a lot of things. They showed, offensively that they could put up points. We saw
Special
that.
teams as well.
Special teams. Look, Harbaugh's a special teams guy. They always have that. When you have a guy like Justin Tucker back there too. I mean,
Right.
certainly makes a lot of things easier. And defensively, I mean, we've seen them shut out the Bills. One of the best teams in the league for a half. Before they were able to get things rolling. So the Ravens are definitely up there. We could talk about the Chargers. The Chargers a little more up and down,
Yeah.
but they found ways to get wins. Defensively, a lot of upgrades. A huge upgrade just having Derwin James healthy.
Yeah, J.C.
Um,
Jackson,
yeah,
Khalil
you bring
Mack.
up J.C. Jackson, you have Khalil Mack, right? Huge improvements defensively, right? Really, just they're still trying to get all that together. Offensively, we know what Herbert can do. They're missing Keenan Allen still so far, but they've been able to come out and get some big wins so far, and
Right.
they're sitting at 4-2, and we got the Niners, right? The Niners, they just took a loss to the Falcons, but one of the best defenses in the league, and offensively, they kind of just dominate you running the ball, and then kind of picking their spots when they want to go over the top and air it out on you. And then we got the Bucks. The Bucks, who obviously Tom Brady still running that offense and thought to be one of the best defenses in the league coming into the year. Um, really kind of struggled so far. Really not what we
Yeah.
expect from the Bucks, but
Their offense is just not what it is right
yeah,
now.
and maybe that's because the receivers in and out, but then they got the receivers back, and then I don't know what it is. Is it Tom
I
Brady
think
missing time?
yeah, I think
Um,
maybe
maybe it's a little bit of everything,
the
but yeah, they're certainly another team, and you know,
the whole OTAs he wasn't there, and
yeah, and
they're getting a lot of reps in now. So
looking at it, I mean, if I had to round out that top five with two more of those teams, I mean, I'd probably say the Ravens, and then I don't know, maybe the Chargers or the
or the
Bucks,
Bucks,
just
yeah.
off potential.
Yeah, I'd probably go with the Bucks only because of obviously Tom Brady,
Hmm.
and we've seen how sometimes it takes Tom Brady a little bit to get on track.
Well, the other thing I would say too, one, I think the Bucks defense could be better than the Chargers defense,
The
even with all the pieces that we talked about. The Chargers defense just never seems to be able to fully really
reach
shut
their
people down
potential,
and
yeah.
and reach their potential. But also running game wise, I mean, look, Austin Eckler's a amazing weapon. He's getting you rush yards and tons of
Receiving
receiving
yards.
yards. He's getting touchdowns all over the place, but he just doesn't have that RB1 factor where you can just line him up and
Yeah,
he's
like
going to get you
Leonard
the
can.
ward like Leonard Fournette can. And that's really the huge difference for me. When you have a Leonard Fournette, um, whether or not he's getting the touches is one thing, but that's what can make you the more complete team where you can run the ball down and run the ball down someone's throat the
The
whole game if you need to because you have the personnel to. The Chargers, you kind of need the teams to play you a little bit softer,
right.
have some breakdowns in their their run coverage to be able to really
Yeah,
go crazy running the ball.
I think the Bucks will be able to get back on track. Tom Brady, he plays well when weather starts to become a factor, and we're getting into late October. When weather does become a factor, the Chargers don't know what's going on with Keenan Allen. I don't know why he's not back yet. His hamstring,
Yeah,
they seem to be dragging it,
it's tough
and
with Keenan Allen too. He's so
he's
good, but
he's
he's
really
always
talented.
injury
Yeah,
prone. Like he's it's almost every year. I mean, how many seasons have we seen him out for the year, either
right,
before camp started or like a game or two into the season?
right.
It's rough, but when he gets on the field, he's spectacular. But yeah, just always something with his injuries.
Yeah, so that's the downfall with the Chargers. The Bucks, I think eventually they're gonna get back on track. I think Brady's gonna pick it back up. He's not playing horrible. I think just they're just playing really sloppy football, and it's really not like what you normally see from a Tom Brady led offense. It could also be Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is their head coach, and obviously Bruce Arians had everybody in a line, and Todd Bowles is more of a defensive guy, and that's maybe why the defense is shining so bright, and maybe the offense is taking a step back a little bit, but with all those weapons, I think they'll be able to get back on track. But speaking of the Chargers, a game that we could preview next week, we have the Chargers versus the Seahawks, and the Chargers are at home. They're, I believe, a -6.5 favorite. What are your thoughts with that game so far?
Yeah, I mean, we just saw the Chargers come out with a win on what was that Monday Night Football. It
Against
was
the Broncos?
against the Broncos, a grinded out game. Low scoring game like all these Thursday Night Football games are. Um, we saw that you know that thing on social media of people joking about always just betting the unders and
Yeah,
you bet the unders on all the
prime time games
I
are
know,
good.
yeah, and you're good. You have more money than Jeff Bezos soon. So, um, yeah, but look, the Chargers they get the Seahawks at home. This is a Seahawks team that's been kind of over exceeding expectations, right? They've been able to get some good wins. They've been able to even put up tons of points, right? We saw Rashad Penny go down, rookie running back. Kenneth
Just
Walker
steps
steps
right
in
in.
and runs wild, and you know, it's they're a surprise team. And yeah, like I said, putting up points, so they get to roll into the Chargers and do what they can do. Geno Smith's been playing at a pretty high level. Not He's not super consistent, but he's been much more consistent than I think anybody would have thought. You would have
Yeah.
looked at this, beginning of the year. Oh, they got Geno Smith as the quarterback.
Yeah, they got the Jets,
They
Geno
getting
Smith.
yeah, they're getting rolled over. But no, they've been performing well. They've got the run game going. They've been able to put up tons of points in the air. Geno Smith's been having some games airing it out. Um, yeah, I mean it's a tough one. The Chargers have been really up and down this year, really because of
Yeah.
Herbert's rib
Ribs,
injury,
yeah.
right? And that was right before they played the Texans, and they lost to the Texans. But since then, I mean they've been able to find wins, and they're not all pretty, but they've been doing it. 6.5 spread. It's tough here. I'd probably take the points with the Seahawks. I don't think I think the Chargers are going to win this one. But just in general, games have been just really tight and
Yeah,
all
with the
around the
Chargers
NFL this
especially.
year, and especially the Chargers. So yeah, I like the Chargers to win here. If I gotta lay money down, I'm probably taking the Seahawks with 6.5 points, and hoping that the game is close. But yeah, like I said, Chargers are finding ways to win those close games, and I would expect them to continue it. I mean, they had that right before was the win against
The
the Browns,
Browns,
right? That
yeah.
was another close win. It was a good win for them, but a close win. So whatever it is, right? I don't know if it's their coach, and all those fourth downs. We talked
Yeah,
about
those
that
fourth downs are
before,
crazy.
but yeah, they just haven't really been able to pull away the way that you would think that offense should. Uh, and like I said, who knows? Maybe it's once Keenan Allen's back, everything just clicks. But it seems like it's maybe a little bit more than
Yeah, I
that. They
think
have to
it's
find
deeper
their
than
rhythm somewhere.
right. I think they need to find their rhythm, kind of find their identity. I think they should get Gerald Everett involved a little bit more.
Hmm.
Justin Herbert seems to like him as a target. Even I believe last game he had a great game.
Hmm.
Against the Browns he had a great game. But again, it's they just can't really find their identity. This is a game where I have the Seahawks as the dark horse next week. I think the Seahawks knock them off. For some reason, I just don't. Maybe it's just Pete Carroll. He just doesn't see rebuilding in his blood, and he just wants to go out there and win any game he can. That's just the competitive nature of him. But yeah, I don't know. The Chargers been struggling against a lot of teams, and they just struggled against the Broncos. Granted, the Broncos have a great defense, but again, they struggled against the Broncos. They struggled against the Browns. The Seahawks aren't a pushover. We've seen that all season, so that's something. That's a game to look forward to. Another game that we have. Speaking of the Browns, we have the Browns versus the Ravens. They're playing them at M&T Bank Stadium. So the Ravens are at home. I believe they're -6.5 favorite right now.
Hmm.
But that's also an interesting game. I think the Browns they play very run dominant, and they keep the ball out of Jacoby Brissett's hands as much as they can. I mean, you can do that when you have Kareem Hunt and you have Nick Chubb. Kind of that two-headed monster where it's like either or can go off for 100 yards at any given moment. But yeah, I think the Ravens have to be careful here because their rush defense is what kind of sets them back a little bit. So
Yeah, and this is a situation. If you're the Ravens, one, you need to win this game because you're only 3-3, regardless. Two, you need to win this game because this is against a divisional opponent.
right,
Now the Browns come in here 2-4, but they haven't played like a 2-4 team at times, and we've seen Nick Chubb come out and dominate games already this year. And you mentioned Kareem Hunt, his counterpart. Also, he's also another one who's able to go off on you. Um, Ravens need to kind of, try to stop the bleeding early and not let them go crazy and kind of, be able to put up points for themselves. This is a game where if you're the Ravens, right, and you get up to a decent lead like you did against the Dolphins, like you did against the Bills, you
And
probably you
keep that
probably
lead.
keep these guys out of here. You
Yeah.
know, you probably end the game pretty much early, and you get to coast to victory. If you keep these Browns in the game and they're able to rely and keep rushing the ball on you, well, guess what? They're gonna chew the clock. They're gonna make this a drag out game,
Right.
and you're gonna be stuck in a slugfest where you
You
may
have
or
to put
may
the ball
not
in.
be able to win it late close. We saw them not be able to do that against the Giants already. If you're the Ravens, get on them early, do what you need to do, make sure you got your offense in sync, and make sure that you have your personnel on the defensive end
Yeah.
keying in on that run game because you want to make Jacoby Brissett beat you with his arm.
Yeah.
Don't let them off the hook and let them run the ball on you.
And I think the thing is too is Jacoby can do that, but it's a lot harder for him to do that rather than them just running the
Mm-hmm.
ball and being able to run a clock and control the game, control the pace of the game. But yeah, what the Ravens need to do is because they play great in the first half. They're a great first half team. They play good in the first quarter, second quarter. It's more so halftime. They need to make halftime adjustments. The defense needs to make halftime adjustments. The offense, they need to be able to put up points. We Kenyon Drake had a pretty solid game against the Giants last week. Maybe get him a little bit more involved. I know they just signed Deshaun Jackson, but I don't think they're gonna get him involved yet too much into the offense. I doubt he maybe even get reps this week, but if he does, then that's a whole different factor. Then you could take the top off the defense. But yeah, I think the Ravens they just need to take care of the football. One, two, be able to make some halftime adjustments, and then just be able to kind of get to where they need to get defensively to stop the run. So another game that we can get into is the Chiefs versus the 49ers. The Chiefs are the favorite, I believe. They're what is the
Minus
-3?
three. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so they're -3 favorites. They're playing at Levi Stadium, and it's an interesting game because I don't think the Chiefs have too much to worry about, but again, the 49ers have a great defense. So
Yeah, this is kind of like I see this as like a trap game.
yeah,
Um, look, we saw the 49ers lose to the Falcons last week. But the 49ers went all the way across country to play them. Came in after some pretty good wins on their end. This is a game where they're home. The Chiefs come to them. Um, this is a game where look, Chiefs are a better team. They should be able to win this game. But the Chiefs defense is great and they're one of the best pass defense in the league. So when you have that scenario and the Chiefs have at times struggled to run the ball as much as they've wanted to, right? You have the emergence of some of their other young running backs at different points, but really, their bread and butter on offense is that pass game with Mahomes and getting the ball to Kelsey and the other
yeah.
receivers out wide. The 49ers have a shot here to, if they could keep this close, run the ball, keep the ball out of Mahomes' hand. It's the perfect kind of game
Counter.
plan and counter to a Chiefs offense that when they keep getting possessions, they just keep throwing the
leading the
ball and
ball.
then getting in sync and lining it up. Also, the other thing with the Chiefs, we know no lead is safe, right?
Yeah.
The 49ers, how they're going to win is, a more lower scoring game than the Chiefs want to play as well. But it's tough because, we've seen the Chiefs be, behind in points and then fly back in and put up points in a hurry to be able to get back in it. But yeah, I would expect the Chiefs to win this game. 3-point spread, pretty low spread, some that they should cover, but yeah, I would not be surprised at all if the 49ers came and found a way to make this one a close one and pull this one out late.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they do as well. They obviously they run the ball well. They kind of struggled against the Falcons last week, but the Chiefs' run defense isn't the greatest. I mean the Falcons' run defense isn't the greatest either, but I think they'll pick it up. I think they don't often have where they go like back to back and they have bad rushing offenses. Um, and then on top of that they're playing at home, so that's also a factor. But again, I think if the Chiefs get a big enough lead to where they have to put the ball in Jimmy Garoppolo's hands, I think we'll see Jimmy G kind of shaken up a little bit. I don't know if he'll be able to throw the 49ers back into the game. Although he's a good quarterback, I just don't think he's able to just bring them up to that next level. So I'm with you. I think the Chiefs take care of business. I think they win that by way over three and possibly even a double digit game. So we'll see what happens with that game.
Yeah, so we'll roll into some best bets for the week here. We'll start off with the Giants going to Jacksonville. Giants +3 is what I like in this game. Look, the Giants 5-1. They've kind of continued to do what they need to do and kind of show no signs of stopping. Right, every week is when are they gonna slow down? When is this thing gonna run out? Seems pretty legit to me so far. I see no reason why not to take a +3 line against the Jaguars, who are a team that look, they put up points in their own right, and they've had some games where they've been in it late against superior opponents and stuff like that. But yeah, the Giants have their MO has been finding a way to win no matter how, and yeah, obviously
Yeah, I think the Giants definitely cover this. I would take the money line for the Giants. Giants money line. Danny Dimes gonna get it done. But I think we could also see what can happen with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has been playing stellar this year, but it's odd because like he'll have these games where like they put up a lot of points, and then they'll have games where they don't put up a lot of points. Like they'll put up like 6 or 9 points, whatever the case is. But yeah, I think the Giants definitely cover that for sure. The next game that we have is the Packers versus the Commanders. The Packers are a -5.5 favorite versus the Commanders at home. I think the Packers, they look weird. Like they've just been looking like they've been struggling a lot
yeah.
lately. But I think Aaron Rodgers is gonna find a way to get back on
Yeah,
track.
this
Like it's just a
seems
matter of time.
this seems like a huge bounce back game for them.
Yeah, for sure.
They've been struggling lately. They had that loss to the Giants. They've had some, tough stretches in other games against the Commanders. Playing the Commanders. The Commanders are at home this game. It seems like they'll be able to go in there. It's not going to be some crazy home environment. The Commanders, they don't have that.
Yeah.
And
I think
Carson Wentz is
out.
injured,
Yeah.
right? This is a game where they look, they have problems with their passing game and their receivers and things like that. But this is a game where they could come in, kind of lean on their running game, lean on Aaron Jones, and let their running backs kind of
Get to work.
do the work for them. Aaron Rodgers can make some timely passes when he needs to, and I see them being able to win this game, no problem. So yeah, I like 5.5 here. I think they win by a touchdown, if not more, against a Commanders team with a backup quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, we could move on to the Steelers Dolphins game. The Steelers going into Miami. Steelers +7 on the spread here. The Steelers have shown some fight in recent weeks. They've shown the ability to get in games and keep them close. We've seen their rookie quarterback be able to find a way to have the touchdown passes now and get into the end zone. Miami team, you know, this one is a little tough. I kind of saw this line before Tua is now supposed to play here, but I could see this going two ways. I can see more than two ways, but the two ways that I see that the Steelers cover the 7-point spread is one, they just play hard and they play a close game under Tomlin. They the teams always fight for him, and I could see them doing so. Two, Tua could get knocked right back out.
Yeah, that's the scare factor about this game.
And once Tua's out of there, we know that this team is
very limited.
Yeah, and also it's been a small sample size with Tua, right? Sure, they've looked great at times, but look, they had to come back against the Ravens late. There are other wins. Some have been great games, but look, Tua's been out. Half the season now?
Yeah, he's been out for like three games, I
believe. So he's been out half the season now, and he's gonna have to now come back in, get back on the same page with his receivers. Like I said, the Steelers team isn't just gonna give it up. So
they just knocked off the Bucs too. Like that. So.
Around the league, we've seen, as we talked earlier, there's been a lot of close games. I think really most of the games are 8 points or less. Mm-hmm. So you talk about a Steelers team that you're given 7 points. I mean, I think I'll take my chances there and trust Mike Tomlin to get his guys ready and
get it done
to at least keep this ball game close enough for them to cover. I mean, we can move on to that. A Thursday night game, that's Saints and Cardinals. Cardinals only favored by a point and a half here. This is a Saints team we talked about earlier in the year about how they've been a bit of a disappointment so far. Cardinals get DeAndre Hopkins back, who is a complete game changer in Arizona. Right, whenever Kyler Murray has DeAndre Hopkins, they've been a lot better. They've been a much better team. So they also had the trade for Robbie Anderson come through, give them some more receiver help, which they need, right? They
with the loss of Marquise Brown, they definitely need that.
Yeah, he was their leading receiver by far, now they have two guys that Kyler Murray will have to get on the same page with them, but against the Saints team that, like we said, has been a bit of a disappointment.
Very underwhelming this year.
Yeah, to cover 1.5 points, I think they get the job done, and I think, Kyler Murray is able to more than cover that spread. I mean, there's a chance that they could,
they can just blow them out of the water.
Yeah, they could win by a touchdown or double digits. If they play like the Cardinals last year that were on one of the best teams in the league throughout the greater first half of the year. And then, to close it out, we have the Seahawks and the Chargers. And we kind of, mentioned this earlier when previewing that game. The Chargers have been playing close games. They've been finding ways to win, but they roll in against a Seahawks team that's been exceeding expectations. Geno Smith has been able to get hot in games, put up a bunch of numbers. No. This is probably going to be a close game. The Chargers just haven't really found ways to really pull ahead and blow teams out as of late. This is a situation where I believe enough in the Seahawks to keep this game a bit closer than this spread is and cover the spread. And you talked about, this is a game where the Seahawks might be able to sneak in and get the win. So, we have five best bets this week, a little more than we usually do for NFL, but a lot of value in some of these games, and
for sure,
seeing what's
going
on.
Yeah, especially with all these strong games. These really close games, and the spreads aren't like too crazy this week. Mm-hmm. So, and I think it's just because of the nature of the NFL and where the NFL is right now. Like, who expected the Giants to be this great? Mm-hmm. Same thing with the Seahawks. They're not phenomenal, but they're a gritty enough team to where it's like on any given Sunday, the Seahawks Pete Carroll will have them boys ready. So that's it for the NFL. We're gonna wrap this thing up. We'll see you guys next week. Again, like, comment, subscribe. We want to hear what you guys want to see from us. If you have any topics you'd like to go over, just leave a comment below, and we'll get back to you guys next week.